Well, welcome to the Getting Started with RPR presentation. You will see some sample reports today. If you want to get a copy of those reports, feel free to text RPR agent to 555-888. You will get a response back with some sample reports. But that trainer in me, again, just says go in and generate the reports and play around with RPR, because the only way you learn anything is by using it. You don't use it, you what? You lose it. All right, so what we're going to cover in this class is just a little bit about RPR and how to use RPR in your day-to-day business, how to navigate around, how to create some RPR reports, how to customize your profile, and where you can go to get help. So let's just go ahead and jump into our presentations. A little bit of background information though. Realtors Property Resources, NAR's technology company. We're a wholly owned subsidiary corporation and a national database of parcel-centric property information. So you guys have access to all of that information from coast to coast, and that's pretty much all the off-market information. So you guys use a public record system that runs behind your MLS, right? That's essentially what RPR is on steroids. We pull over or aggregate about 300 different data sets, parcel information, property information, information from the clerk of courts, information from the appraiser, mortgage company, title company, weather, demographics, census information, schools, map information, traffic counts. I mean, if you can think of it, we could probably get it and display it in RPR. And then for your local market, you also have that layer of your MLS active, sold, and off-market data within RPR as well. So you're not bouncing back and forth between both systems if you're looking to research property information. Not only is RPR available through your desktop, you also have a mobile app. It's the same username and password to enter into both platforms, and you don't pay for either of them. It's a dues benefit. So technically you do pay for it, but you pay for it when you pay your dues to the National Association of Realtors. So this is one of the benefits that you get from NAR. So let's go ahead and jump in. As soon as you log into RPR, we have partnered with your brokerage. So your brokerage brand is already incorporated into the platform. And that just means as you go through and you're generating your reports, yeah, your PowerPoint's probably out of date on this computer, but you can worry about it later. Doesn't want to work.
Okay, cool, bye.
Bye.
You want to put in your laptop?
Yeah, I do, but we're rolling. We're good.
Good.
Except now I forget what I was saying. What was I saying?
Brokerage.
Yeah, so your brokerage brand, thank you, whoever said it. Your brokerage brand is already incorporated into RPR. So anytime you go to generate a report, MP Dodge is going to be front and center on that report. Your agent photo is going to be on there, and your contact information is going to be on there. You can opt to include some branded brokerage reports when you make your presentations to your clients. So that information is already in there. We have our main search bar right here on the home page. So all of the different searches that you can do are right here along the top. So let me break the searches down for you. You have your all property search. That is essentially your public record parcel search. So if you're looking for a specific property because you're researching it for a listing presentation, you can enter that property address into this bar and it's going to come up. This is my kind of all-encompassing search. So even if you work with buyers and they drive around and they call and say, hey, I'm in front of this house, this is the address, you can plug it into the for sale, and you can plug it into the all properties. I usually stick with the all properties because if it's for sale, technically, it has to be active in order for it to come up with the search results. Well, if it's temporary off market, if it expired yesterday, if it's sold, it may not come up in the for sale because it's not actively listed for sale. So that all properties is kind of that encompassing search. If you're farming and you want to find all of the parcels in a particular zip code or a particular neighborhood, you would go into that all property search and you would get all of that activity. You have your MLS for sale properties. Okay. If your MLS allows you to enter short-term residential, short or long-term residential properties that are available for lease, and they provide that information to RPR that's under your for lease information. You have neighborhoods. I want you to think of your neighborhoods as that census, U.S. Census and demographic information. So that's housing growth, population, density, weather patterns, commute times, voting patterns. That's kind of like the tapestry that makes up the community is what you can find under your neighborhood demographics. If schools are a hot button for you and you want to see all of the public, private, charter schools in an area, maybe get some reviews about those schools from consumers in the market, see what their average test scores and enrollments are, you could go into your school search. And then we have the market activity. And there's so many ways to use the market activity. If you're looking in a zip code and you want to pull all the expired properties in the last 6 months and see if it's an area that's worth farming, you can go and run a market activity report. If you work with a homeowner and they're really stubborn on dropping their price, you can pull a market activity report for all properties that are within a half-mile radius of their house that have had price changes in the last 3 months. Okay. If you want to use it as a drip campaign for past clients and you just want to show them what's going on in their old neighborhood, you can create that market activity report. Kind of relates to that hot sheet. You know your hot sheet in the MLS? It's kind of what our market area activity report is. As you start to run these searches, you can scroll down a little bit. You're going to see the recent properties that you've looked at, recent searches that you've executed, and recent reports that you've generated, just so you can access that information later and easily. Okay. But if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see our resource bar. So this is where you can come down and link to our blog. If you want to reach out to our support desk is available 24/7. And they are actually located in Omaha, Nebraska. Go figure. And they field calls for NAR as well as RPR. But we also have this great little live chat. So if you just want to reach out and get support online and just chat with someone, you have that chat button as well. Okay. So all of our resources are always there on the bottom of that homepage. But let's go ahead and just jump into our All Properties search tab. So let's say we get a call from a homeowner. They're talking about listing their property. We write down their address. We ask them a few questions about improvements that they've done. If they've researched their property's value online, those normal questions that you ask with that one-touch phone call. We're going to type their property address in. It's 3130 South 106, and you're going to notice you get this big laundry list of properties because you guys like your numbered streets here in Omaha. You like that grid format. So as you go in and start typing, it starts to narrow down the matches in your market area. Okay, and that just kind of helps you with your search a little bit. So we can come in and say, hey, it's 3130 South 104th Street, and it's going to pull up that property. We can go ahead and execute our search by clicking on that magnifying glass. But before we do that, we want to understand that this isn't always a perfect world. Sometimes you're going in and you're researching property information and it doesn't have an address. Maybe it's lot or land that you're looking for. Maybe you know where they live and their last name, but you kind of heard through the breeze that they're thinking about moving and you don't really know their exact address. You have this little advanced feature right here, just to the right of that magnifying glass. And when you click on that advanced feature, you can come in and search by owner name or company name. So if you're looking for properties that are listed by a bank or a lender or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, you can put the name or company name in. You can search by tax ID number if you need to. Okay, you just enter that parcel ID, APN, and you can search in that way too. So there are other avenues to search. You're not tied into that property address. But I'm going to go ahead and click on that magnifying glass, and it's going to go ahead and load that information. Now we see our property address to the top, In the beginner class, I always like to point out that you have this little star on the right-hand side of the property address. You guys see that star? So if you click on that, that's just going to kind of add that as a saved property. Now you can save properties, you can save searches, you can save farm areas. And when you click those stars to save them, and you can save them through your desktop, you can save them through the app, they just go into the saved file folder that you have here under that home page. Okay. So you can come in, click that drop down, you can access those saved properties, and you'll also see here that you have a link to your current listings. So if you just want to pull up one of your own properties and create a flyer real quick or do research real quick, you can do it from this drop down. But I'm going to go ahead and click back into that property. By the way, that saved property stays there until you come in and uncheck this little star. Okay? And if you're going to be around all day and you want to come to my mobile class, I'm going to show you a really cool thing that saved properties also do. Okay? We can see that this property is off market. We get that we do have some sales history. It last sold in 2011. We get the RVM value. Okay? You will see RVMs and AVMs in RPR, and these are estimates of market value. So if you see an AVM, it's looking at publicly available information. If you see an RVM, it's looking at publicly available information as well as MLS active, sold, and off-market data to generate the value. Okay. Now we're going to get to the RVM in a second. That's a different chapter. Okay, so we're going to go on a little bit. We're going to get the basic facts for the property. As we scroll down, we're going to see we get an overhead view, and you do have a street view, and I'm just guessing here that there it is, that wonderful street view. It's probably just the file on the computer, but there's your street view. If I scroll down below, we have a link here that says compare historical photos. In that little window, we get a drop down that says, hey, this property was listed in 2004 and this property was listed in 2008. Yes?
What is the app actually called on the phone?
RPR.
Just search for RPR. And you'll see it's a little trademark logo. Okay. So you can come through and see those historical photos. Now we have a section where you can add notes to the property. Now as I type notes, this is a great spot for your personal or private notes. Okay. And you'll see you have a little box here that you can uncheck, and that means whatever you type in this box stays in RPR for you to see it. You never have to worry about that information appearing on a report. Just below that, you have another section of property notes. Now these, you can add notes. Maybe these are client-friendly notes. And as you type these notes in, you have the option to include them in your report. Now when you add these notes, it actually dates and timestamps every time you add a note. And every note that you add, you have the option of including that at any point when you generate that report. You also have the ability to upload photos. If we're looking to create a listing presentation, and we have a really bad Google Street View, okay, and we don't want to use that aerial view, maybe we just want to drive by the property and take a photo ourselves and use a custom image for our report. So you can come in and say, hey, I'm going to upload my own image. And then when you upload your own image, you have the option to include that image as the primary photo for your report. Super simple to do with the mobile phone. Okay, it attaches right to the property. We also have a real quick tab and type seller's proceeds sheet. Now you can type in all your assumptions. You can save and close the form and include it in your report at the back end, or you can just save and print it out as a one-off. Okay, so you have your seller's proceeds. And then you'll just see the homeowner facts. You can see the home facts where you have a column for any discrepancies or any clarifications. You get your median estimated home value. And then you start to get that parcel information that we pull from the public records data. So this is going to be the interior, the exterior, the location details is where your flood zone's going to be, buildings, schools based off of the location, legal description, taxes. That's going to round out your summary report. As I start to scroll up, okay, I just want to kind of draw your attention to the map that you have here on the upper right-hand side. So what I'm going to do is go to the lower right side of the map and click that link that says bigger map. It's going to enlarge the map, and if I scroll down a little bit, that property information just falls to the bottom. It's still there, it's just underneath the map. And then I'm going to go to the upper left-hand side, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Because when I zoom out a little bit, you're going to start to see what's going on in that community. So I have all of these gray little rooftops. Those numbers that you see under the rooftop is the AVM or RVM value for that off-market property. If it's a blue roof, okay, that means that property, light blue, I'm looking for a light blue roof here. I don't see a light blue roof. Let's zoom out a little bit more. No. A light blue roof would be an active property, so the price that you see under that active property would be the list price. These green roofs, those are solds. That's the sold price underneath. Okay? The navy blue's pending. All of these are interactive. So if I want to see what's going on with this nifty little red roof, I can kind of hover over that and click on it and see, oh, this is an off-market property that has a notice of foreclosure filed with the clerk of court, so it's in financial distress. If I want to look at more details or if I want to save it as a favorite, I can do that right from the map here. So you get that nice overview of what's going on in that community. And you actually have a little map legend to the bottom that's going to say, hey, these are the single family homes, but we also have some vacant lots here. So those are depicted with that little posting sign. These are what all the little colors mean. And then when you move to the right, you're going to see this drop down of heat maps. And heat maps are just color schemes that represent fluctuation of values within the market area. So if you want to see over the last year, the high areas of property appreciation as opposed to property depreciation, you can see that overlaid in that map. So those light blue to darker blue areas are extensive property appreciation. And then those pale colors to those dark pinks, that's property depreciation year over year. Maybe you want to look at things like the concentration of distressed properties. List price versus sales price. As you get into the darker blues, properties are selling that much above list price at point of sale. Okay? As you get into those deeper reds, properties are still selling below list price at point of sale. If you're in this opaque, properties are pretty much selling at list price, okay, at point of sale. You know, based off of that slider scale that relates to that heat map that you're looking at. Okay. No matter where you go, there's flood zones now. Okay. So if you want to get that flood map, there you go with that flood map. Okay. And all of these map layers can be included in the reports that you choose to send to your clients. I'm just going to click that link that says smaller map. That's your overall summary of the property. If you want to get more in depth and take a look at that property history, you can click on this history tab that you have at the top. This is going to show you trends over time. You get this nice financing and activity chart. This is going to share with you that fluctuation of the AVM and RVM. It's going to share with you if a property's been listed, if there's been a refinance or a revolving line of credit. You have your key right here at the top to tell you what's going on within that map or within that view. You can see prior sales transactions. We saw on that summary tab that there was a prior sales transaction in 2011, but here, just last year, we had a little interfamily transfer, okay, that was filed through the clerk of courts. So you have a toggle button where you can go between listing records and public records to get a full idea of what's gone on with the ownership of that property. If I scroll down, we see tax assessment. You can just use those next and previous to go through those past years. And then any mortgage information or distressed information would be to the bottom. Another thing I'd like to point out on this page, but it's also available on the summary page right below the map, is this link that says compare historical records. Does everyone see that? Look up at the screen. Okay. Y'all see this link that says compare historical records?
Yep.
Okay. I'm from Florida. I say y'all. Sorry. You can come in here and say, okay, well, this property was listed back in 2004. It was listed again in 2011. Let's take a look at a nice side-by-side. So you can see what the value it was when it was listed. You can scroll through those property photos.
They're not the same property though.
Huh? The pictures are different because one's when it was listed in 2004.
No.
Oh, yeah. This must be this incorrect property.
Yeah.
It's tied to the wrong. Must be the wrong.
Yeah, sure.
Well, they made it look older in 2001.
Wow. That's a weird one, Lisa. You
I've
want to take a
never
picture
seen
of that,
that.
and
I've
so we
never-
can send it in.
Let me just take a picture of it.
Yeah. It should be tied to the tax ID and the parcel, but it will show the history.
If you're sending corrections in, when you're putting your data in for multiples, instead of semicolon, it says semicolor.
Does it?
Yes.
Really?
Pull it up real quick, you'll see it. Go back to your,
I am. I'm scrolling up. I'm not used to the Windows computer, so I'm doing the opposite of what I
So
would do on my
where-
Mac.
like when you,
Oh, when it says to enter. Got it.
for your entering list,
Separate-
like your list
separate
separated
with-
by semicolors, there's semicolon. See right there, Drew?
Oh, with the summer. Oh my God. Oh, maybe it's just running off. It could just be.
No,
it could really be
semi-color.
Oh
It
my
says-
gosh.
yeah.
That is really. That's so.
You got me a prize.
I know it before today.
I just saw it looking at it, so.
I'm gonna look up another property.
I want a pretty blue semi.
This one's right. So here's another one where you.
There we go.
can
That's the
compare.
same house.
Yeah, that's the same house. This is another one where you can compare historical records. This one is a property that was listed in 2000, and it's just looking at that comparison to public record today. So if that property was listed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and it had photos from when it was listed in 2001, and 2004, and 2009, you would have access to all of those photos to kind of look at that information. You could see price change history, you get home facts, interior, exterior details, and that information, that history comes from those MLSs, and we keep that history. Even if your MLS, for whatever unseen reasons, have to purge it out, we do keep it.
If
So
we
you have
upload
that.
photos, does that stay proprietary to us, or does that become a public photo?
It stays for, it's for you. Yeah, so you have access to see that image if you upload your own image, and your clients, if you choose to share those uploaded images with them through a report, but you control that feature. So you have that ability to look at that information. Here's your prior sales transactions.
Where
So
do we
that's
go
all.
if we see that there is a discrepancy? Like, I noticed on that one even it showed the original listing it had 3 bedrooms and then the second listing showed 2 bedrooms.
It
So-
depends on where that discrepancy is coming from. So if we're looking at this information and this is coming from public record and the public record is actually wrong, you can reach out to our support desk and we'll see if it is. And then we actually would have to get the correction from public record. Okay, we'd have to pull it again from the property appraiser and import it into RPR. If you're looking at a property, if it's historical, and you're looking at a historical record from Great Plains Regional MLS, if this was entered incorrect at the MLS level, it had to be corrected at the MLS level. Yeah, we don't correct anything. You have to correct it at the source, which would either be MLS or public record, and that info would then flow into RPR and correct in our system. And we do have sometimes things that are off that we can fix ourselves. If a property's not mapping correctly, usually we can go into our end and correct the latitude and longitude on the GPS settings that we get from Google, and it'll correct it in RPR. So some things we can control.
And there's also a column.
And this, guys, by the way, this is Lisa Turner. She is your broker services representative with RPR. So
A lot of the discrepancies, I don't want to say it's intentional, but a lot of times public records data doesn't match MLS data just because public records hasn't been updated. So you'll typically find a column for any property facts, a column for MLS, a column for public records, and then a column called your changes.
right here.
Okay.
So
Yes, right here.
And that's what, I knew there was some place where we could change it. Say somebody, they put vinyl siding on the house, so it's no longer hardboard exterior. So if you want to change that,
Yes.
you can change it.
Well, you can't change it per se, but you can note here that the information is incorrect, and this is what the correct information
you can
is.
update it in your account.
Yeah, you can update it in your account.
Okay.
Real quick, I do want to touch base on the charts. The charts is just going to give you statistical information for the zip code, median estimated home value, sales price versus sales volume. All of these charts have these links that say about this data. List price versus list volume tells you a little bit about pricing trends over time, how much your inventory impacts your list price over time. You have things like your listing inventory. You have inventory of distressed properties. These are filed with the clerk of courts. Then you have inventory of distressed listings. So it's like how many are in the county, per county record, and then how many of those are actually listed on the MLS. And then just statistics for the property breakdown, how the house compares to comps in the market, sales price, price per square foot, bedrooms, age range, and things like that. Okay, so that's on your charts tab. Okay. So you get that chart, you get that history where you can view historical records, you have that map which is going to show you those market conditions. So you have all of these levels of information that you can view for that parcel. Now we're going to turn our head to the RVM. And when you're looking at an RVM within RPR, and I want to go back to the there we go. So when you look at an RVM, it's going to share with you what that value is. Now that RVM, I said it earlier, anyone remember what it was?
It's county versus
It's
market.
It's public record and MLS information that's used to make the analysis. Where consumer-based automated market value estimates are just public record data. Okay, so that's that kind of discrepancy. Here you're going to see that last update date. Okay, so we can see it was last updated on 9/11 of 2018. So really, you can expect almost any day now to have a new date and timestamp that says, hey, this property was analyzed on 10/16/2018. So we update that value every month. Okay? And because we update that value every month, in the middle here, you're going to see what that growth was month over month, and you're going to see what that growth was year over year. Okay, so how this property grew from September 2017 to September 2018, October 17 to October 18, moving forward, and then your month over month. So August to September, September to October, October to November. And I'm going to tell you, it's not oftentimes that I see an RVM month over month in September that grows in property value. Usually you start to see that little depreciation because that drop off from summer inventory to fall inventory and that weather pattern change, usually you see a slight decrease in the home's property value month over month. And you start to see these trends in your market and understand these trends in your market. Now, to explain the range and the confidence score, I'm going to go back up to this RVM number that you have at the top. Does everyone see this link that says view details? Okay, I want an acknowledgement from all of you out there. You see this link that says view details? Awesome. Okay, I'm going to click this link that says view details. And what's going to happen is we're going to get this detail page that pops open. Now, you guys can print this page, okay, and use it in your pricing discussions if you want to. But what essentially this is RPR saying, hey, this is a sampling of the properties that were automatically identified to use in the analysis. All of these properties had some recent activity within the last year to be included, okay? Those ones that were a more recent sale in the last 140 days are going to be highlighted here in green, okay? Some of those least recent sales, okay, or off-market properties that were included for statistical reasons are to the list below, okay? So with this list of properties, RPR is going to say, hey, we can guesstimate that the value is about $215,000. But really, there's a range, and it can be anywhere from $189,000 to $241,000. Anyone guess why?
That's a big range.
Why would there be a range?
Well, because they're
don't know
not
the property
comparing
detail.
like,
Huh?
Don't know the property detail.
But you don't know the property detail. You don't know the condition of the property.
they're not.
Has it had
using
updates?
styles.
Is it?
They have all different styles they're using.
It could be all these fluctuations. Okay, and that's normal when you're looking at an automated estimate of market value. It's just looking at property characteristics, the values of those characteristics, and similarities statistically. Is it in the right tax brackets? Does it have, the same quality of construction? Is it in the ballpark with the beds and the bathrooms? So it's coming in saying, hey, we know we're looking at this subject property here in orange. Okay, this is our subject property. And these are the properties that we've selected. But what makes this tool powerful are these are the properties in your market. You have a list of recent solds. You guys could have been a party to these sales. These could have been your listings. You could have showed these properties to your buyers. You know if these properties have had updates. You know if there's curb appeal to these properties. You know when those updates were done. Okay? So you can come in and say, well, all of these, they're all within the same age range. They all really haven't had the updates that some of the other neighborhoods have had. So yeah, I will come in and say, hey, this property is in pretty average condition to all these, which is ballpark going to set it at that 215 number. But if your subject property was totally renovated in 2016 and it's beautiful and none of these properties have been renovated, then it could be as high as 241. But if those properties were all renovated and this property wasn't, well, then it could be as low as 189. Okay? So you're the one that has that tool to come in and say, okay, well, this is what's actually going on with this property as it relates to neighboring properties. Okay? And we're going to get to how you explain that information in just a minute. Then you're going to see this confidence score, and the confidence score is essentially saying, hey, 90% of the time, these properties sold within 15% of their RVM value. So we're 4-star confident that this property is going to sell within 15% of the RVM value. If it's 5-star confident, it's going to sell within 10% of the RVM value. At least statistically, that's what's happened 90% of the time. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So you actually have, as a tool, the ability to refine this value. And there's 4 ways to refine the value. Errors and omissions from public record. Well, public record says it was 1,600 square feet, but it's actually 1,800 square feet. You have an appraisal in your hand. You measured it. So that's going to add value because of errors and omissions from public record. Now I'm going to click that link that says restore, and it's going to erase it. You can refine the value based on home improvements that were done to the property. You have a list of improvements that you can select from. every improvement is going to give you a definition to the scale that it's done to. So you have upscale improvements and you have mid-range improvements. So you can click on any of these and read the definition of the improvement and pick the one that goes best with which was done to the property. Okay. We actually have an other, okay, whoops. We have an other on the bottom that you can add your own. Okay. So we can say, hey, they did a kitchen remodel in April of 2016. It's $25,000. Well, that's great. It was 2016. We're in 2018 here. Well, that's going to depreciate over time. Okay, so it's put on a 20-year depreciation scale, and it's done at a regional level, and we're updating these numbers annually. We actually partner with a company by the name of Hanley Wood to get this information. Then you can look at the home and refine the value based on needed improvements. Maybe you're researching the property and you're like, oh yeah, I see your house was built in 1981. When did you redo the roof? Oh, never? Okay, well that may be an issue. So you can have an expert come out and say, yeah, this roof isn't going to pass an inspection. Okay, well you need a roof replacement. That's going to cost $10,000, so that's going to depreciate that home's value. Then you can also keep it general and just refine the value based on the local market conditions. And you guys know these market conditions. How's the inventory? Okay, what's the average days on market? What's the buyer demand in the community? How's the home exterior? How's the interior? How's the lot size? How's the view? How's the privacy? All of these things can have an effect on the overall market value. And then that information is going to be right here at the top. And then if you go back to your summary page, it's highlighted right here as well. Now, a lot of you may say, well, you know, RVMs are nothing. They don't tell me anything. And that's okay. You can suppress this information from your report as well. You can also come in and create a comp analysis. And this is where you're hand picking those comps. Okay? You can do a comparative analysis. It's a quick 4-step process. Step number 1 is to confirm, again, those home facts. Okay? Maybe it's a 3-bedroom with 2 baths, and maybe they've added a partial bath over time and it was never added to public record. So you can come in and add changes. If there's a unique feature to the property that's not listed here, you can add that feature to the bottom. Okay? You can confirm those home facts and close, and then you're going to go to step number 2, which is searching for comps. Now, this property is a single-family home, so it's going to look for single-family homes. It's going to look for properties that have recently sold. It's also going to pull competing properties, but those are going to be underneath the sale, so you don't have to look at them if you don't want to.
What about style?
Style, if it has to be a particular style and you want to filter that by that style, you can add that keyword. You can look for, and I'm going to show you a different way as well. Your solds are within the last week, the last month, the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the last 12 months, 18 months. If you want to go 8 months back, you can change the radio button to date range, and you can use these calendar dates. You get that differential on the beds, the baths, and the living area. But if you want to tighten up this information, you just click your mouse into those fields. You can tighten up that data. If you want to include additional fields like lot size, price range, price per square foot, or year built, you can do that. As far as the location that it's looking for, if I'm a stickler and those properties have to be within a half mile of my subject property, I can do that radius search and look within that circle. Okay, I just search in that area. If I want it to be within the community, I can come in and I can draw that polygon shape and I can click whatever area I want to pull those comps in, however odd that area is. Okay, I can search in that area. I also have the ability to search within the neighborhood, within the school zone. Okay? But generally speaking, it's going to search this area that's within this map view. So if I want to get a little closer, I can zoom in. If I want to get a little further out, maybe it's a little more rural, I can zoom out. And then all you have to do is click this search button on the bottom, and it's going to start popping up all of those comps on the map. Now what I like to do is zoom in a little bit all of these comparable properties, okay, are interactive. So I can look at my subject property and look at this one and say, okay, well, this one's a recent sale. Is it the same property style? Does it have the beds, the baths, the square footage? Did it sell within the time frame that I'm looking for? You know it did because it came up on your search results. You have a little checkbox right here that you can check to use that in your comp. If you want to view more information, you have the ability to click on the image and it's going to load the full detailed view. So you can actually select your comps just by clicking on those recent sales within the map view. Okay. Not every property that comes up within your search results are going to be used in your CMA analysis, just those properties that you select. Okay. Now you can select from your list as well. You can sort your list by any of the filters that you see here to the top. Okay. Once you select your comps, you're going to update your evaluation, and then you're going to come down and you're just going to make your adjustments. Okay. To make your adjustments, you use a slider scale on how that comparable comp relates to your subject property. Is it better or is it worse, and to what degree? Okay. When you make those adjustments, it's going to tell you how it makes that adjustment to your subject property, and that you get your net adjusted result and your price per square footage result. You can scroll to the bottom. You have a section for notes that you can include in your report. You get your total for your adjustments, and then you update your evaluation and close. You also have the ability to come in. This is the calculated formula based off of your comps. Okay? But even if you wanted to come in and say, hey, well, I think we should list it, at 2099. Okay? You can enter whatever information you want. I think our low offer is going to be $199.9. Okay? I think if we price it right and get into a bidding war, maybe our highest offer would be $210. Okay. However you want to put that. You can even leave this recommended price field blank. Okay. And then you can come in and say, hey, now I want to take all of these components. Okay. I want to take that property history. I want to take that, I'm just going to wait for this to load. I want that property history. I want that RVM information. I want that comp analysis result. I want those home facts. Okay. You can go through all of these elements. Okay. You can hover over these information icons and pick and choose those reports that you want to include. If you don't want to include it, you just uncheck this little box. As you go through and pick and choose the elements that you want to have within your seller's report, that essentially becomes your standard default for all future seller reports that you create from here on out. Okay. And you do that for every report. Okay. You do have the ability to limit the amount of photos. It will include market area activity if you choose to, which are competing properties. So you can say, hey, you want the first 4, the first 8. Okay. You can include your notes. You can include your seller's proceeds. And you can also suppress information. So if you're one that really doesn't feed into the RVM, AVM information, you can just come in here and say, I want to remove it from everything. You check these 3 little boxes that say suppress, and that's going to suppress the RVM value for the subject property. It's going to suppress it for any comp that you may pick in your CMA, and it's going to suppress it for any property that may come up just as market activity. So it just hides all the information across the board for all the properties when it comes to estimates of value. Okay. You can personalize your report with your seller's name or client's name. You can type in that call to action message. Okay. You can email it directly to them, or you can just say, hey, I want to display the record now. You can run your report, and then you'll be able to utilize that seller's report. And then just to show you what one of our reports look like, they all have the same format. Okay. You can upload your bio. That's a different class. Come to the reports class, and we'll teach you how to do that. But it's going to scroll through home facts, extended home facts, property details, CMA information, property photos, marketplace statistics. That's going to be your report. Now, with the couple of minutes that we have, I want to share with you some really cool buyer tools that you have within RPR as well. So I'm going to come into RPR and I'm just going to keep search kind of general. So I'm going to come in and say, hey, I want to search Omaha, Nebraska. I have a price range here. Maybe I have a buyer that's looking between $300 and $450. They're looking for a 4-bedroom property. You do have, again, that advanced feature here on the right-hand side. I can click on that advanced feature and it's going to open up and say, hey, you can enter by keyword. So if you have that buyer that's looking for that unique property feature, okay, with that architecture style, you can type that keyword in. I want to say I'm looking for just active properties. I really just want non-distressed properties. My buyer's not interested in the foreclosure or the bank owns or the short sale, so I can uncheck those boxes. If they're looking for a living area, lot size, price per square foot, you can enter that information. And I also like to point out the property type here because I have a lot of agents and I always ask them, I'm like, do you use RPR? And they're like, no, but I search land.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can search land. You can search farm and ranch. You can search condo, townhomes, villas. You can search co-ops, manufactured. You have the same property styles in RPR as you have in your MLS.
Are you sure?
Okay?
Can I hate to do that. This gives us, like, say, all of Nebraska, correct? Like, if we're,
Or is it just?
it doesn't
The
have to
for
be the
sale
same
properties are really only going to come from the MLSs that you participate with. Now there are, I'm not going to lie, there's some MLSs across the country that do share their active listings with everyone. But your MLS determines who's going to have access to what data. So we're going to come in, here's our properties. A couple of things that may trick you up when you first search in RPR. We have 207 properties here. Okay, I'm seeing the first 10 of those. I can max out my display to the first 100. Okay, so I can just kind of scroll through the list of properties. And just to share a property with you, if we come in here, let's take a look at this one. The living room's jumping out at me. Here we see the list price. We see this little thing that says, hey, there's no value estimate for this property. That's a big heads up that, hey, there's just not the MLS or public record data to estimate a value. You know what's jumping out at me? New construction. Okay. So you can come in, you get the basic facts. You get those property photos, okay? And now when you scroll down, it's just that layer of MLS information included in that property detail. So we get now the public record facts, we get the listing record facts, you still have a column for changes, you get the home value, the price change history, the listing details from the MLS, and the data from public records. So you're just looking for where that data source is coming from. Okay, and it's all disclosed in those little parentheses. And you can come in and create a buyer report for any of these properties. But I want to get back to the search results and I want to go into the bigger map. And I want to show you where the value really comes into RPR. Maybe we're looking for properties here in where we're at. Okay, Midtown. I'm not even going to pronounce it, but we're the Nebraska backwards town. So I'm going to call it from here on out. But I do have the ability to come in and say, all right, well, we want to draw a shape. And we now really just want to draw a polygon and get these grouping of properties right here. Okay, and this is the area that we want to focus our attention on. So we can come in now and search this area. You can save this as a custom area. So now it's just going to filter to these properties that we see here. Okay. You also have the ability, now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. You also have the ability, or zoom out, you have the ability to search by distance as well. Okay. So maybe they're saying, hey, well, I'm moving to the area, but I travel a lot for work. So I'd really like to be, within 10 miles of the airport. You can come in and say, hey, well, let's search by distance. Here's the airport. We want to be within 10 miles of the airport. Okay? Click on that purple area. You can search that area and you can save that area. Okay? Now, I'm from Tampa Bay. Lisa's from Tampa Bay. We flew in at 5 o'clock yesterday and had to taxi over to this area. You guys have no traffic.
At 5 o'clock.
Okay? At 5 o'clock, there was no traffic. I was amazed. Okay? But traffic, and I'm just going to come up to the top. Sometimes nowadays it's like, hey, I don't really care if I'm 5 miles, if I'm 10 miles, if I'm 2 miles from the airport. What I know is I want to be able to get to the airport in a 20-minute Uber drive. And I go to the airport at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I can come in and say, hey, well, let's search by drive time. Let's find that Epley Airfield. You want to go at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning? What day of the week? How long do you want your journey to be? You can select apply and you're going to get this funky area that says, hey, this is going to guarantee that you're in a 15-minute drive time. And then you can, again, click on that and search in that area, and you're going to get that match of properties from within that area. Click it again, you can save it as a custom area. Okay. Once you hone into that area, and they have those additional questions, what school? Okay. You can come in and say, well, middle, high, or elementary. You can click on that little link. This is going to be Carter Lake Elementary School. Okay, so then you can come up and say, hey, let's pull a school report for Carter Lake Elementary School. Okay. Maybe they come in and they say, well, we have, one in elementary school and one that's kind of 2 years old. Okay. Well, let me tell you where the daycare centers are. You can go to your points of interest. Okay. I want to know the daycare centers, and I want to know the grocery stores.
Better plan on hospitals.
Okay, hospitals and fire stations. Okay. And then if I zoom in, if you look at these little icons, those teddy bear heads, those are the daycare centers. You can click on it and get the census information, and you can search listings nearby. Okay, and you can print this page out as well so they can see those areas of interest. Okay, pretty cool stuff. All right. I think our PowerPoint still...
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
And then this is just totally off topic, but it goes back to the issue that you ran into before with the 2 images that weren't the same. I did verify that image of the newer house on the right is the photo that's in the MLS listing from 2004. So... I validated all of the data for the listings is the same. It was the photo.
So let's go through real
So it
quick.
could be that the MLS could have purged the data.
Yeah.
The MLS probably purged the data from 2004.
Real quick, let's just go through the login. If you guys don't really know if you have an RPR account created when you get to the main login page, I'll show you a website in a minute on what that is. There's a little button that says Create New Account. We also have some learning resources that are available to you, but you're going to enter your NRDS last name, which is the last name that NAR has on file for you, and your email address. And you're going to get one of 2 messages. It's going to say, hey, we have an account associated to this email. Click here to reset your account, and then you can follow those prompts, or you can reach out to our call center in Omaha and say, I need to know what my login info is for this program, and they'll walk you through it. Or you're going to get a message that says, hey, we can't find you. Please enter your NERDS number, your NRDS number, which is that 9-digit ID number from NPR. If you don't know it, there is a little lookup button that you can hit that'll bring you to realtor.org so you can look it up. Once it verifies that your NRDS number is active, you can go ahead and create your account based off of your username, which is your email address, and then you create your own password. And I'm going to do what everyone tells you not to do. Write that down. because that username and password is going to be the same username and password that you know that you're going to use when you try to log in the first time to the mobile app. Okay, so make sure you know what that is. And then it's going to say, hey, this is the MLS that we have you with. If you participate with more than one, go to the add button, add your secondary MLSs, as many as you need to. It'll link those accounts. You'll see that confirmation, and it's going to say, hey, you're good to go. Click this little circle. That's going to take you to your preferences and settings, where you can go ahead and customize your profile further. Okay? And that's pretty much going to walk you through, and now, there we go, to where you are. Again, it's available all in the palm of your hand, fast, convenient, and essential for Apple and Android-based devices. Okay? If it's a device other than an Apple or an Android-based device, you just use your browser. But you have access to on and off-market properties. You can access and send branded reports. You can add property photos, text notes. Everything that you do on your mobile device syncs with your desktop. Everything that you do on your desktop syncs with your mobile device. And then grab your camera and take a picture of this slide if you need to. You can access RPR at rpr.com. You can visit our blog for training materials and resources. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer support desk at 877-977-7576.
Go back, please.
What was the text?
If you want a copy of sample reports, you can text RPR agent to 555-888 and you'll get a link back with some sample reports. But I think it's best to just go in and start pulling properties and generating reports and picking and choosing elements to include and
Did you
really using
tell
it.
them to text new also?
No.
If you're new, I just learned this the other day.
Oh.
If you also text to 555-888 the word new, if you're new to RPR, it will text you getting started tips. And you won't be on any text messaging list, don't worry.
We got a minute. Any questions? I think we fielded them
Everyone's
during
ready
the
for
class,
lunch.
which was
So let's
good.
say we're in a different market. We're out in Boulder,
Okay.
Colorado. We're driving. Hey, think about moving here. Is there anything we can do on RPR to start looking at property values, or do we have to be a member?
Nope, you'll see all of the property
Okay.
values calculated based off of publicly available information. You get the demographics for the market area. You'll get the sales trends. You'll get the public record sales data. You can create and send branded reports for those properties, even though it just doesn't contain that layer of MLS information.
My father just did that. He was just out in Sedona, Arizona, and he was just going through RPR, just trying to get an idea of what market conditions were like.
Yeah. Great, thank you guys.